Know Your Candidate. Presented by Portland is Possible, broadcasted by XRAY FM. In this segment, we offer a brief background on the visionary candidates that are proudly standing and running for the acclaimed Portland Area City Council. For now, we have a candidate of District 3 that incorporates Montevilla, Belmont, and Hawthorne neighborhoods.
Hi, my name's Flanary. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm running for Portland City Council in District 3.
What is important to you when considering how to spur the local economy and improve the outcome to local business owners?
When I think about the local economy and making sure that business owners are able to make it here in Portland, I think about the small business entrepreneurs and how hard it can be to make that jump from working for someone else to working for yourself. There's a lack of affordable benefits, health insurance and retirement, and it can be really difficult to navigate all of the levels of regulation between our city, county, state, and federal levels that all have influences on how a business is run and, frankly, how people can make a living. So thinking about real people and how it impacts them, whether we're talking about workers as part of the local economy or small business owners.
How can the City of Portland support creative projects and people to have opportunities to make a comfortable living from their pursuits?
When we talk about creatives, creative people in Portland, I think about, again, a lack of access to things like health insurance, to things like a retirement. And when I consider how much of Portland is shaped by creative people, whether you're talking about makers or you're talking about artists, I really want to see us have an option where there's some public pool that you can go to, that you can get affordable health insurance, that you can get access to a retirement plan. And I would go further and say we should look at a universal basic income, and that would be an incredible way to allow folks to not only pursue creative careers, but start that small business.
What hazards do you foresee in the city's future that we can start planning for now?
The biggest thing that comes to mind as a hazard for the future is the impact of climate change and global warming, as well as the Cascadia subduction earthquake. So when we think about climate resiliency and we think about the ability to respond to an emergency that could be caused by something like an earthquake, ensuring that all of the neighborhoods in Portland know where to go in the case of an emergency, have the opportunity to meet your neighbors, to understand what the goal is, because if the power goes out and you have, say, medication that needs to be refrigerated, where can you go to make sure that you're able to continue to take your meds? If you're looking for potable water or food in the next couple of days after an emergency, where can you go? So making sure that we expand the Portland neighborhood emergency teams and the Beacon, which I'm trying to remember what it stands for, but it's the earthquake response team, so that we know where people can go to get that help.
The Central City is a large area of land connected by a river that includes communities, businesses, and transit needs. How should the City Council consider these diverse stakeholders in policymaking?
So District 3 has the Central East Side, which is part of the Central City District. And one of the big movers and shakers in our Central East Side is our business association. And they've been doing some really cool things with murals, with encouraging people to be out and about, with innovative ways of using the zoning in the area to develop and to move Portland forward. I do want to make sure people are still centered in the conversation. And so when we talk about that river that divides the Central East Side from downtown, the east side of the river looks a lot different than the west side of the river. And I would really like to focus on, making sure people have access to the resource that is our river.
What in your background demonstrates how you approach implementing visionary ideas?
A big part of my background is my activism in the union movement. I've been an officer in my union essentially since I started at the city. So over 10 years, I've been a steward, I've been an organizer, a recording secretary. And part of being a union leader is being able to synthesize ideas from groups of people who may not necessarily agree with each other. And so taking these big ideas, like we want living wages, we want, for example, one thing we want at the city level was time off for people to get their citizenship. And so that's now included in our contract. Now, we represent over 1,000 people, and so there will be differing opinions about what to prioritize, but figuring out how to do a good job representing everybody and also prioritizing wins for those of us who are most marginalized, I think really sums up how I approach implementing visionary ideas.
Lightning round. describe Portland as more grunge, more jazz, or more indie pop?
I'd say my first reaction is grunge, the Pacific Northwest being the home of grunge. But Portland has so many different aspects to it, I would be pushed over to jazz.
Should Portland offer a universal basic income for artists?
Yes, I think Portland should offer a universal basic income to all artists, and I think we should look at expanding that program to other parts of Portland as well.
Where do you get your coffee?
Mostly I make coffee at home, but I like to walk down the street to buy Partisan coffee on weekends, and when I'm in the mood for a real treat, I'll go down to the Kind Coffee Cart.
If you couldn't live in Portland, where would you want to live?
If I couldn't live in Portland, I think I'd be looking at either somewhere else in the Pacific Northwest or taking a total left turn and trying out living in a place like Ireland.
Whom from Portland's past or present should our leaders take notes from?
There's a current leader in Portland who I was introduced to a couple of years ago, Angela Bonilla from the Portland Association of Teachers, and I was blown away by her ability to organize and mobilize people when the teachers went on strike this past fall. And I think there's a lot we can learn from the whole run-up to their strike and how many people were involved, how many folks marched with them, and how many people were ready to make those sacrifices day after day while they were fighting for a stronger contract.
So now you know your candidate, or a bit about them. We like to thank the visionary candidates, also like to especially thank all the volunteers and organizations that put this together. We couldn't do this without you. To look at each candidate, be a good Portland citizen, and to be a dashing and informed voter, listen to X-Ray FM to learn about ballots and the new ranked choice voting system. And check out portlandpossible.org.